Doug Walker is patient zero of one-trick ponyitis, or what I will now dub the Doug Walker curse, mainly because it's a funny but accurate way to describe it. This ailment has been around long before Doug learned how to half-tie a tie. Artists have always wanted to choose how they define themselves. You see this in classic rock bands who stubbornly insist on performing their new work at concerts instead of the classic songs that actually sold the ticket and that the audience clearly responds the best to. Or actors refusing similar roles because they do not wish to be typecast. Authors write under a pen name so that the reader's perception of the book isn't colored by their prior knowledge of the author. Take Stephen King, one of the most commercially successful contemporary authors. He created the pen name Richard Bachman to publish his less horror centric fiction novels because he didn't want to be boxed in as the horror guy. This gave King the freedom to explore alternative creative avenues uninhibited.
Conception to refer to me as a horror novelist. I've never denied that I am that, but I've never confirmed it either. What I am is a novelist. I'm a storyteller. It's even simpler than that.
His alias was so successful that the Literary Guide infamously stated in their review of Bachman's 1984 novel Thinner, "This is what Stephen King would write like if Stephen King could really write." Both hilarious and a fascinating case study. I'll return to King shortly. Now, let's talk about our good friend Douglas Walker, or as he is better known, the Nostalgia Critic. Doug started uploading Nostalgia Critic videos to YouTube in 2007, around the same time he dramatically quit his job as a janitor, synced to the 2001 A Space Odyssey theme, and Bohemian Rhapsody. Doug was perhaps the first one on YouTube to create a character with an exaggerated persona to review media with, similar to how the angry video game nerd was an exaggerated character created to review games. I was a fan of his videos since the beginning, but I will say he got better over time, up until a point. I would consider his peak to be his original string of Stephen King movie reviews and the reviews of late 90s, early 2000s bombs such as Godzilla with Matthew Broderick or the Cat in the Hat movie with Mike Myers. And my personal favorite videos of his were his Nostalgia Critic editorial vids, where he would rant about a specific cinema adjacent topic rather than just reviewing a film. He had his failed talk show, brilliantly titled Shut Up and Talk, his movie reviews that he just does as himself, the now infamous demo reel, and several full length films, all of which sucked. That guy with the glasses.com turned into Channel Awesome and were more conglomerates than his own personal YouTube channel. Question: how many people watching this video right now remember that Doug retired the Nostalgia Critic back in the day in 2012, only to just bring him back a year later? I guess the nostalgia chick, as attractive as she was, didn't have the staying power that he thought she would, and her attempts to mimic his exaggerated mannerisms were painful to watch, and the series was a failure. Regardless, it was clear Doug had what he considered to be greater ambitions than just making Nostalgia Critic videos. There was only one issue: his audience didn't agree. To them, the Critic videos were gold and his best content by a country mile. The views reflected this. Then, one fateful day, Doug decided to change the formula that caused his success on YouTube. He added skits to the Nostalgia Critic videos. Every Nostalgia Critic fan or former fan feels a chill run down their spine when they hear the word skit. Yes, I'm being a little melodramatic here, but am I the only one who always liked Channel Awesome the best when it was the Doug Walker Show? The other people who appeared on this channel, I could take or leave, honestly. The only exception being Rob Walker, because he and Doug had that brother chemistry which made for great banter. The skits were nothing short of joyless, agonizing interruptions from otherwise highly entertaining videos. Many would describe them as, quote, cringe, unquote, and that's an apt description. The tendency of YouTubers to build a following of people who subscribe to see them and then make content that is in fact not them and expect that the audience will just love and accept it is baffling to me. If I wanted to see these people, I would subscribe to their YouTube channel and watch them there. Doug either never understood why people liked the Nostalgia Critic videos, or he insisted on ramrodding the skits in there and thought one day the fans would start liking them. A day that never came. His Les Miserables, Scooby Doo live action movie, and To Boldly Flee reviews were three of the worst culprits. Observe polymath genius Doug's comedic mind at work. He puts on a clinic in the art of comedy, as seen here.
Nostalgic, Linkara, there's a meeting downstairs and... I'm gonna give you 2 a month.
What the hell is taking them so long?
Film brain, you look as if you heard 2 people having sex.
How would you know?
I'm French. We know.
Well, are they coming?
Well, that's a loaded question.
What?
Oh, nothing. They're getting busy, keeping busy with heterosexual extracurricular activities.
Lindsay Ellis claims she was pressured and intimidated into filming the scene despite her objections. If Miss Ellis ever comes into possession of a time machine device, I would hazard a guess as to where her first stop would be. I'll leave it at that. This, however, is only scratching the surface of the controversy that surrounds Doug Walker and Channel Awesome. Starting in 2014, several Channel Awesome employees and content creators publicly came out and accused upper management of bullying, intimidation, sexual harassment, and being abusive towards women. It is important to note that there are 2 sides to every story and that Doug may not have been personally implicated in any wrongdoing. Mike Mashad, the heavyset CEO of Channel Awesome and seemingly the brains of the operation, shoulders a lot of the blame. A Google Doc titled, quote, not so awesome, unquote, circulated, which caused nearly all of the content creators associated with Channel Awesome to leave, never to return. Channel Awesome was a conglomerate no more. I implore you to read the document for yourself and draw your own conclusion. It is amusing in a morbid kind of way. This can be described as one of the most dramatic implosions of any major YouTube channel and demonstrates enormous incompetence on behalf of, well, everyone involved. But this is not the topic of the video. Moving on, Doug's detractors will say that he failed at every attempted venture outside of the Nostalgia Critic videos. This is largely true. Granted that everyone has their own definition of success and failure. Everything is relative. Doug's other ventures are failures relative to his viral Nostalgia Critic series. It's a classic case of a YouTuber, or anybody really, gaining the clout and eyeballs that they desire and not knowing what to do with it. At the start of this video, I diagnosed Doug with one-trick ponyitis because no matter what Mr. Walker does, people will always associate him with the critic and want him to be the critic. He could put out another series that is worth watching in its own right, but will never be able to be viewed objectively because of its proximity to the famous Nostalgia Critic, who has ironically become nostalgic himself. This reminds me of the movie Birdman, where Michael Keaton's character plays a washed-up actor who wants to start pursuing theater, but is literally followed around by his most iconic character, who's clearly a reference to Batman, who Keaton portrayed in real life. I'm going to give you 3 examples of content creators who actually broke the Doug Walker curse to prove that it can be done. First off, Boogie2988, I'm going to be the first person in maybe a decade to say anything positive about Boogie. Steven Williams, aka Boogie, initially went viral from his Francis videos where he played the character of the stereotypical fat, raging gamer who would smash shit and make a spectacle of himself. Then he later shifted his content to making vlogs as himself, telling stories, and talking about gaming. The shock humor, Francis, fat guy, freak out videos that went viral on early YouTube were no longer what viewers were looking for, so he wisely changed directions. He went on to nuke his YouTube career with endless blunders, but that isn't relevant to this discussion. Here we have an example of a YouTuber kicking the monkey off their back, so to speak, and moving their content in a creative direction that they desire, leaving the character behind as a footnote. I understand Boogie still does the Francis videos occasionally, but now they get less views than his normal vids, so my point stands. The second example does the exact opposite, but still breaks the curse. Epic Rap Battles of History, aka Nice Peter and Epic Lloyd. They took the one trick pony and won the Kentucky Derby with it. Not a single video on their channel has less than 1 million views.
When we're not working out, we make these videos called the Epic Rap Battles of History. And we make these videos with a very dear friend of ours, and his name is Epic Lloyd. Hello, Lloyd. Hello, Peter.
Both have personal YouTube accounts that they used to post on frequently, but both are dormant at best and forgotten at worst. Instead of changing their content, they mastered it, refined their craft, and continuously improved the quality of their videos while maintaining a consistently high standard. And this is coming from me, who isn't a fan of rap music personally. They did such a great job that they actually managed to break out of the YouTube bubble and get into real TV shows and real movies. At this point, I'm confident they continue making rap battles because they want to, not because they have to, and it shows. They have the, quote, good ending, unquote, that every YouTuber hopes for. Third is Ray William Johnson, a name you probably haven't heard in a while. While his Equals 3 show, where he would do 8th grade school bus level commentary over funny videos made by somebody else with jump cuts every 3 seconds, was never my cup of tea, he did manage to venture into the music realm with his Your Favorite Martian channel, which was a virtual band consisting of him and a few of his friends. Think Gorillaz, but, well, worse. Some of the subject matter was on the juvenile side, but their songs were catchy bubblegum pop rock with smooth hooks, so they were well received on YouTube. The contrast between the animated band format and his normal content was big enough for viewers to judge each separately. Just recently, the band came back on the scene and their views are higher than RWJ's main channel now. Curse broken. Now, lend me your ear and I'll tell you 3 cautionary tales of guys who definitely did not break the Doug Walker curse. First, Deshaun Raw, aka Super Hot Fire, the rap battle guy and living meme. After the viral success of his often memed and quoted rap battle parody videos, he attempted to end the series with Super Hot finally losing a rap battle to Soldier Boy. Chris Rock, who previously appeared in the videos, helped him get an opportunity for a sketch comedy show on Comedy Central. But due to emotional decision making, jealousy, poor judgment, and a lack of stand-up comedy skills, Deshaun's pilot never got picked up, and his further attempts at stand-up were laughable, but not in the way he intended. So, Super Hot Fire flamed out and deleted his YouTube channel, not wanting to be labeled just a YouTuber, even though that was the only creative endeavor of his that turned out well. Second is the Amazing Atheist, who got popular for being a banana-loving, opinionated atheist who would make fun of SJWs and feminists. Now, he wasn't playing a character per se, but he had a very specific role and video format. Sooner or later, YouTube stopped being hospitable to that content, and he was unable to adapt in any way other than watering his content down and making it tamer, which killed the appeal. Fast forward 10 years, and he's more akin to the people he used to hurl mockery and derision at. Thus, his views shriveled up just like his appendage. Third is my very dear friend James Rolfe, aka Jimmy, aka Bames, aka Bimmy, aka the Angry Video Game Nerd, aka the guy who had to leave at exactly 5:40 for some reason. I've made a video talking about James and Cinemassacre in detail, which I'll link in the description if you want to check it out. James was a film student who made home movies with his friends since he was a little kid and just never stopped. There was only one issue. The only short films anyone cared to watch were his Angry Video Game Nerd videos, which were intended to be a one off thing. To him, the nerd was one of many films he made. To the millions of fans, James was the Angry Video Game Nerd. More people know him by that moniker than by his real name. He continues making nerd videos to this day and is a subject of ridicule for the decline in quality. James' personal lack of involvement in the writing process, and the fact that James hasn't even played most of the games he rages at.
Never rush out anything just to meet consumer demand, otherwise you end up putting out shit. Some franchises get done to death. You can't keep beating the same thing into the ground.
All of which is discussed at great length on the Cinemassacre Truth subreddit. There are approximately 900 million more examples of this, but I'm trying to keep this video on the positive side, so I'll give it a rest now. The common theme here is that the curse victim's misery is self-imposed. It is possible to transfer your popularity from your character to yourself. After all, it is you who created the character in the first place. Sort of a Frankenstein's monster situation, if you will. I stated previously in this video that my favorite Channel Awesome videos were the Nostalgia Critic editorial videos, which he does in character, but it's toned way down, and it's basically just him talking as himself while dressed as the critic.
Well, as sequel month is winding down to a close, we realize there are some good sequels out there, but there's a lot more bad ones. Why is that? After all, the movie prior had to start from nothing and win people over. You could argue sequels have more of an advantage. It starts from something the people are already familiar with and enjoy, so technically that should mean there's a greater chance the film will connect with people because it already has in the last one.
I also like his normal movie reviews he does as himself and the sibling rivalry videos with his brother Rob. The Nostalgia Critic videos generated so many views for a few reasons. Let's analyze them now. First, Doug was at the right place at the right time and was an early YouTube adopter. Second, 2007 when he got started was perfect timing in terms of the cinema landscape. The early 2000s were a horrible time for movies with loads of soulless remakes and ugly CGI-packed blockbuster garbage coming out. So watching the Critic shred that crap was cathartic, man. This is actually something Doug himself made an editorial video about, which is definitely worth a watch. Lastly is the zany charm that the Critic has. Everyone in their personal life has at least one buddy that they can wax poetic about movies with. The Critic felt like a digital version of that, especially the old videos where he's just talking right into the camera. At this point in the video, you're probably wondering, can Doug break the Doug Walker curse? The answer is yes, but whether he can and whether he will are two entirely separate questions. While it's true that I do like to always stay on the positive side, I can't deny that Mr. Walker has demonstrated a severe lack of self-awareness on numerous occasions, as demonstrated by his tone-deaf review of The Wall and subsequent damage control. So I don't necessarily see him having the introspection to take my advice, or anyone's for that matter. Doug has a lot going for him. He's a film aficionado and he can converse eloquently about movies when he wants to. He is a good public speaker and does well keeping the audience engaged and hanging on all of his words. For me, it was the Critic that pulled me in, but it was Doug that kept me watching. My solution? I say ditch the Critic. For the love of all things holy, ditch the skits, ditch the over-the-top yelling and mannerisms, certainly ditch the musical numbers, or he can keep the Critic and make those videos for kids and teenagers while making more adult content as himself. It pains me to admit this as a former fan, but go watch the old Nostalgia Critic videos. Most of them don't hold up. Go see for yourself. If the Nostalgia Critic was a film series, Doug himself would say it's time to end it by now, and he would understand that bringing the character back over and over only waters him down. What the average person is looking for on YouTube is drastically different now than it was in 2007. Content creators have to adapt to this. I've previously said that YouTube is becoming like TV, but it's true. The Nostalgia Critic and the Angry Video Game Nerd are like The Simpsons and Family Guy, once beloved series that have jumped the shark a long time ago. The only person who can break the Doug Walker curse is Doug Walker himself. I've explained in this video that it can be done and how to do it. Will Doug listen? Probably not. I'm just some random guy on the internet. But hey, if it wasn't for random guys on the internet, the Nostalgia Critic would have never even gotten popular in the first place. There's a fork in the road here. He can either go down the path of Jekyll and Hyde, where the creator is killed by his creation, or the path of Dr. Frankenstein, where the creator destroys his creation in the end. But that's just my read on the situation. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments, and please subscribe to this channel. I have many more videos like this in the works. Thank you for watching. Bye.